Hi, I'm John Bran, and this is the Captain movie. An exhausted deserter soldier finds an officer's uniform and begins to rule, creates his own squad, and arranges executions. You've caused a complete mess here. This is inhumane, and I will report it. The event of this black and white film, based on a true story, begins in April 1945, 2 weeks before the Germans surrender. The main character, private deserter Willie Harold, runs along a country road. A whole truck of merry Germans is rolling behind him. An orchestra is playing in the back, and the captain, drinking schnapps from his throat, shoots at the fleeing criminal. Luck favors Harold. When he reaches the forest where the truck will not pass, he hides from his pursuers, like a hobbit from ring ghosts. Later, at an abandoned train station, he finds a blanket and makes footcloths. There he also meets another deserter, exhausted, but with a gun. After resting, they climb the farm at night. There is a merry man hanging from a tree near her with a sign saying, "Looting is punishable by death." The warning doesn't stop them. In the barn, Willie steals chicken eggs directly from under chickens, while a partner stands with a stone in his hands over a sleeping watchman. The disturbed chickens raise a ruckus, and the watchman wakes up. Willie tells his partner to kill the watchman, but he just runs away. The guard screams, and he rushes at Harold, who pushes his head against the bricks. Next, he sees how the farmers, awakened by the noise, stab their accomplices with pitchforks. Unwilling to decorate a tree with his corpse, the former private escapes. He makes his way along the railway tracks past a small town. On a country road, Harold finds an abandoned car, and in it, besides a box of apples, there is a box with a captain's uniform, the Luftwaffe. He hurriedly changes into the Mandir, which turned out to be in season, unless the trousers are a little too big. From such luck, Willie even plays a small scene, pretending to be an officer, when another deserter, Private Freetalk, stumbles upon him. Mistaking the stranger for a real captain, he reports that he has strayed from his own and asks to be under the command of Harold. First, he's ready to pull out a car stuck in the mud. The scammer easily accepts the rules of the game and begins to behave like a commander. Moreover, the choice is not very rich. When the private pulls out the car, they drive into the city together. Along the way, the new captain discreetly throws old clothes so that the subordinate wouldn't guess anything. It's already dark when they arrive at the inn. The locals are not very friendly to the military. The war is almost lost. The soldiers are deserting in droves, robbing the locals along the way. Harold uses dislike for his own purposes. He begins to interview the locals about the damage caused by the deserters, so that the government will pay compensation. This finds a warm response from the locals. Even the owner feeds them dinner. However, Freitag's lack of restraint in eating makes the innkeeper twice suspect them of such deserters, forced to starve on the road. Only the captain's restraint and skill help preserve the legend. But already at night, the locals check on him, bring the caught thief under the windows, and demand to deal with him. Without flinching a single muscle on his face, Harold puts a bullet in Tom's head. In the morning, they leave for the farm where Willie stole eggs. 3 fugitives have already seized power here. They have sat the corpses of less fortunate colleagues on the sofa, mocked the owners, and robbed supplies. Harold's commanding appearance and commanding voice allows him to take control of the situation. He enlists the robbers in his squad. One of them notices that the captain's trousers are clearly too big. Having made his conclusions, he doesn't tell anyone about it. Loaded with food supplies, the detachment sets off on its way. On the way, they come across 2 soldiers rolling an anti-aircraft cannon. They also join the group with the naming of alternatives. When the car runs out of fuel, the soldiers have to drag her on a leash along with the cannon, which at some point leads to an aggravation of personal hostility. A fascist-powered convertible is overtaken by a military police truck. The tough guys check the documents, ready to open fire in case of disobedience. Harold has to show remarkable acting talent to convince the inspector that his powers are more complete than his own. The Führer himself sent him to the rear to check the situation. He hears disturbing rumors about what is happening here. But first, who am I talking to? Mistaking the fraudster's lies for the truth, the military takes them to a prisoner camp where they keep deserters and looters. On the way, the same officer who first shot at Harold as he ran, but does not recognize him in his new uniform, sits down with them. They explain to the captain what to keep the prisoners and provide their existence at such a difficult time for the country is an unacceptable luxury. He, as a special delegate personally delegated by the Führer, could help solve this problem, bypassing bureaucratic red tape and judicial delays. In particular, a military court is needed to sentence prisoners. But while Willie is thinking about this case, his squad needs food and accommodation. Camp manager Schutt shows Harold the prison barracks and introduces him to the situation. During the interrogation, Willie's subordinate beats up the prisoner, simultaneously taking away more or less valuable things from the others. Private Freitag believes that this is wrong and asks the captain to stop the lawlessness. But he notices that these people are no longer tenants anyway. Daughters. Their fate is sealed. At the same time, the manager is talking to the head of the judicial officials, Hansen, without whose knowledge no one can deal with the prisoners. He asks Fule to give one of the prisoners a package from his daughter, who earned this right through hard work. He agrees, but before he can take 10 steps away, he pockets the contents for himself. Harold informs Fule that he will hold military field trials, on the basis of which prisoners can be executed. Some have already been killed, 2 have been shot, 3 have been beaten to death. This infuriates the justice officer. He reports to his superiors about the arbitrariness of Schutt and Harold. However, they cleverly get out. They say the prisoners attacked the officer during interrogation. Nevertheless, the situation is dangerous. The authorities can check Harold's credentials and find out that there is no person from the Führer. Schutt, who wants to finish everything at the camp faster, calls his superiors to get approval from the Gestapo to be a captain, the herald of simplified military field courts, bypassing the Ministry of Justice. If, of course, Willie agrees to take on all the responsibility and leadership. After receiving permission, Schutt informs his superiors Hansen, and they, in fact, allow you to act without him. The justice officer receives a call from above, and then sees that the cunning colleagues in the camp business have already begun to solve the problem. Prisoners are digging a large hole at the edge of the forest. Schutt leads a group of 30 prisoners out of the barracks. They march, drinking the march, even being driven into a pit. Harold orders the anti-aircraft cannon to be brought up. Prisoners are shot from it, tearing the body to pieces. There were still survivors after the first clip. They try to escape, but the soldiers reload the cannon. They open fire on them. Willie wants to scream from the realization of what he has done, but he holds his face. If his deception is discovered, they will do the same to him. When the anti-aircraft gun clears, the personnel finishes off the survivors with handguns. Only Freitag does not take part in the execution. After a small dinner of hot potatoes, the firing squad. The team returns to their duties casually. Freitag stands aside, but only until it turns out that the pit is full of corpses and the wounded man's moans are heard. To finish him off, it is necessary to climb into the grave itself, and the captain tells the money man to put the unfortunate man out of his misery, which he reluctantly does. In just one day, Harold and Schutt shot 90 prisoners. Hansen reports this to his superiors when he hears swearing outside the window. The remaining prisoners refuse to dig the hole. The officer tells the soldiers to bury the grave themselves, and they have to obey. When they throw lime on the bodies, it is clear that some of the executed are still alive, but this will not last long. In the dining room, the staff celebrates their successful work, praising Captain Harold. The guests enjoy the performance of 2 artists from among the prisoners. The repertoire is off the scale in terms of the amount of toilet humor. They also sing the anthem of the Combat Brotherhood together with the officers. While the soldiers are having fun with banal and mundane bullying on the blue bench, the officers are having a small talk with cultural workers. Willie wants to find out why the talented guys were sent to prison, but they won't admit it. Then he suggests playing a game, imagining that they are all thieves. He himself, for example, stole an officer's uniform. Having taken the veiled confession as a joke, the guests learn that the artist robbed a dead friend. This drives the buffoons into a rage, which is distracted by the raging soldiers. The fight went out into the street and became massive. However, having let off steam, the instigators fraternize and go to beat the prisoners in the camp who refused to bury the grave earlier. The officers notice the beatings and tell them to stop, but Harold's subordinate does not obey. An imposter, so as not to lose face in front of the manager in the camp, we have to improvise. First, he shoots a pistol at the spirit of the offending soldier, stunning him temporarily. Then he puts the beaten people in a row, ties them with a rope in one chain, and, taking out a gun, tells them to run. As the prisoners escape, Willie shoots one in the back. Others are dragging a fallen comrade. Harold hands the gun to one of the performers and tells him to do the same. The actor kills the second prisoner, but his colleague on stage shoots himself in the head instead of obeying the order. The captain is waiting for the actor to raise his gun, one less fugitive. While Willie is reloading the gun, the unfortunate target drags 3 bodies behind him at once. Schutt's wife takes his gun and starts shooting. Everyone present joins the shooting. A dozen bullets pierce the exhausted body before it falls into the mud. In the morning, Fry sees that Harold's trousers are being sewn too long, obviously not tailored to his height. But he doesn't say anything. Considering the circumstances, it's deadly. Shude approaches the tent. A squad is ready to comb the area for deserters. The captain comes out to them in a tunic and underpants, which does not prevent him from giving an inspiring speech and sending everyone off. While none of the locals are there, Harold's squad is having a party with drunken dancing and mocking the prisoners. Shude, who has returned with his men, sees a deserted camp with a pile of corpses lying around. The captain's drunken men come out of the kitchen, and he himself can barely stand on his feet. But then the dining room goes up in the air, along with everyone who didn't have time to leave. British artillery is working on the territory, comparing the camp with the ground, and the Allied aviation sends great greetings to the Germans, in TNT equivalent. After the air raid, a staggering Harold picks up his cap and coat from the ground. He commands the survivors to form up. It's time for them to get out of this hospitable place. Together with the deserting soldiers, a couple of prisoners survived. The captain tells them to find a military uniform. The teeter informs the viewer that only the table under the barrier remains of this camp, and everything else has turned into arable land. A color picture of this place is shown in our days. The squad travels to the city in a car with the inscription Harold's Fast Trial on the side. In the fraudulent plans, they look like the crew of antelopes and wildebeest from the Golden Calf. Only unlike the great Combinator captain, the code is not respected. Having famously rolled through the streets, they stop near the city hall, where a white flag with the inscription "Welcome" is hanging. This is how the local government welcomes the Allies who are about to approach the city. The soldiers immediately execute the mayor, who came out of the door at the wrong time. After requisitioning the supplies, Harold heads to the best house in town. The deserters are having a wild party here, but then a woman came and ruined everything. One of the loyal wards brazenly steals the captain's favorite Fraulein. The reckoning is coming very soon. The lovebirds had no time to retire to the room, as they brazenly forgot about subordination and the right of the first night, former colleagues dragged to cool their ardor in the bathroom. Willie enters the vacated room and takes off his jacket. Soon, he judges the troublemaker, who dared to doubt who the alpha male was. Accusing him of looting, betrayal of the motherland, and other common things for the squad, the captain passes the death sentence. In the courtyard, a private is stripped naked and told to run. He walks slowly for a few steps before a volley of rifles ends his sinful life. After that, Harold and his men arrange an even more wild party with songs, dances, half-naked girls, and waterfalls of alcohol. After such an event, they don't just lie around in the morning. That's how the military police finds them and arrests them. Willie, pretending to be a captain, tries to eat his documents, but the police manage to save some of them, and it says in German, in white, that he is a simple private soldier. Despite the many crimes, Harold is offered parole instead of the death penalty at the trial. He proved to be a savvy guy with an iron grip, resourcefulness, and the manners of a true officer. Instead of being hanged, he is sent to the front line, to which he gladly agrees. However, a little later, he escapes with the help of a rope made of tied sheets. The former captain wanders through a forest strewn with skeletons, literally walking on bones before disappearing into the impenetrable gloom of the forest. The final title tells about his future fate. On May 23, 1945, Willie Harold was arrested, and a year and a half later, on November 14, 1946, he and 6 accomplices were arrested. He was executed by court order for war crimes. He was 21 years old at the time.